to work, and I'ma gauge my progress by the sign of the word. Now I ain't yet a success, but yes, the word that I stress. Cause by the time you hear the CD, count the steps that I've left. I'm passing all of you rappers, it's just a matter of time. Pick your jaw off the floor and you admire my rhymes.
Get out the way, get the mess up out my way, yeah. You either with me or against me, bro. You either with me or against me. Win. Win, 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 win. Bump everything else. Win, 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 win. Yeah. So check this out. My name is Pablo Rivera, and this is another edition of Make It Happen Mondays. Yo, check this out. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I have decided to rejoice and be glad in it, right? Because everything is a decision. So that's the first decision that I made today when I got up, right? Today we're going to talk about, it's real simple, right? It's talking about principles. Principles of how it is that we go about our lives and how we control our minds to be able to do so, right? So it's about pluses and minuses, addition and subtraction, little by little and brick by brick, right? Now, a couple of those things mean the same thing. Pluses and minuses, same thing as addition and subtraction, right? Little by little, same thing as brick by brick. But that's the way I go about it, is it's all pluses and minuses, addition and subtraction, little by little and brick by brick. So what is it that I mean about that, right? I know you've heard the joke or the riddle, whatever it is, how do you eat an elephant, right? And I think I talked about it in a couple other videos before. It's how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. Because there ain't no way that you're going to be able to eat that whole elephant in one chugaloom, just like that, right? So anything and everything can feel insurmountable. If it's big, if it's anything worth conquering, if it's anything worth achieving, when you first look at it, when you first see it way down in the path, right? You're like, yo, that is humongous. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. And that's the first thing that most people say is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. But know this, is that anything can feel larger than it is. Life is intimidating. Life can be intimidating. Life is intimidating. But what does that even mean? Is everybody always says that. They sit there and they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm not at that point in my life yet, or I'm not strong enough yet, or I'm not smart enough yet, or whatever it is. Or they look at the other person, right? And they say, oh, they are world champion. They are two-time state champion, or they have a much higher level of education than I have. They look better than me. They in more better shape than I am, whatever it is. So what I want to focus on is I'm going to go through a couple definitions here. Intimidating. When you look at something and you have that feeling of intimidation upon you. Let's talk about what intimidating is. The definition, I wrote it down right here. The definition of intimidating is causing a loss of courage or self-confidence, producing feelings of fear or timidity. You heard what I said? Producing feelings. So we're going to get into what feelings are too, but intimidating is causing a loss of courage or self-confidence, producing feelings of fear or timidity. All right, cool. So now you're sitting here and you're like, all right, well, it says self-confidence, right? All right, well, let's talk about what self-confidence is. Self-confidence is a feeling of trust in one's abilities, qualities, and judgment. So what I'm sitting here saying is you need the strength to pull through. Why? Because we're just talking about feelings here. Again, we never even talked about doing what you need to do to be able to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish, right? We didn't talk about the training that comes in. We didn't talk about the learning that comes in. We haven't talked about anything. The only thing it is that we talked about was feelings. And we look at that person. That's intimidation. The visual that you have. Those are all feelings, things that are going on in here and in here, in the mind and in the heart, right? So you need to be able to have the strength. First, understand that it's the feelings. I can't beat that up enough, is that it's just a feeling, right? It's not what it is. It's not what it really is. It's just a feeling. It's your perception of what it is, right? You need to have the strength to be able to pull through. All right, Pablo, well, what the heck is strength then? What are you talking about strength? Because honestly, I don't feel like I got that either, right? You know what I'm saying? So strength is the mental or moral strength to venture, to persevere and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty, right? So again, we just talked about what fear is. We talked about all that. So the mental or moral strength. So strength It's mental or moral, right? It's the way that you feel. It's those principles that we was talking about. Again, principle, plus and minus, addition and subtraction, little by little, brick by brick. That's how you got to move. Those are the principles that you're living off of, that I'm inviting you to live off of. It don't matter what it is. I'm telling you, if you take it and break it down section by section, you'll be able to do it and accomplish it with more feeling of accomplishment, with more belief in yourself. Again, here and here, feeling, belief, right? So again, strength, mental or moral, intimidation, causing a loss of that self-confidence. What is self-confidence? A feeling of trust in one's abilities and qualities and judgment, right? So all of this happens in the mind. That's what I'm talking about. So what I'm going to talk to you about is how you control your thoughts. How is it that these thoughts just happen to you? You know what I mean? You sit there and I keep on talking about two-time world champion. At least I was just about to talk about that again, right? It's because I help out coaching this wrestling team. And when I went up there, one of the girls, she looked at her opponent and she was like, oh man, this girl is two-time state champion and da-da-da-da-da, and started talking about, oh, look how strong she is. Look at this. She ended up winning. Right? The girl who I'm talking about ended up winning, not the girl she was talking about. And I'm like, yo, stop giving them so much credit. Stop building up this Goliath in front of you. You did it. You put in the work. We went little by little. We took it step by step. We went brick by brick. And look at who you are. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we need to do, is we need to understand what it is that we're doing. And if you haven't done it yet, what you're about to do, right? Because you can't just go through life just getting blown wherever the wind goes. You see what I'm saying? You got to be able to go where you want to go. You set the direction. You change the sails to be able to move that boat into the direction that you're looking to go into, right? So how do we do this? I want you to remember this. It's all about how you frame your mind. How you frame your life. How you frame your life can change your life. I'm going to say that again because I stuttered a little bit. How you frame your life can change your life. And again, how do you frame your life? It all starts here and here. People sit there and say, you know, if a tree falls in the woods, does it really make a sound? If nobody was there to hear it, right? It's your perception. How do you perceive that to be? If you perceive something to be easy, guess what? It's going to be easy. If you perceive something to be fun, it's going to be fun. Some people go through life and they go through these challenges and they like, oh man, that's the death of me. I can't, no. And other people go through the same exact situation and they're like, yo, that made me stronger. I'm better because of it and blah, 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 right? So again, know that it is indeed just perception. So how you frame your life can change your life. So how do you do that? You ever say something to someone that you weren't even thinking, like you were like, that's not what I wanted to say? Or on the opposite side, you want to say something to somebody, and when it comes down to it, you say it and it's not exactly what you wanted to say, right? Sometimes you might have said something again that you feel for somebody, you actually care for them, and then you get into a little scuffle or some side of kerfluffle. I know you like that word, kerfluffle, right? But you get into some little thing, right? And you end up saying, you know what? I hate this person, right? Whoa. Or I never want to see you again. Or maybe it's inward. Maybe you're talking to yourself, and maybe you're like, oh, I'm so stupid, or I'm so weak. I can't, right? Listen, I think I told you the story before about my father when I used to make some mistakes and I'm like, I'm stupid, my bad. And my father used to stop me right there. He was like, don't say that. Don't say that. And I was like, I know I'm not stupid. I'm just saying, like, I messed up. Oh, I'm stupid, right? He goes, no, don't say that. Because what happens is the mind all of a sudden starts finding reasons to prove your thought, to prove your statement, right? So you don't want to do that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And this isn't easy. This isn't easy, but it starts with those little things. What that was a push-up. When my father was telling me, don't sit there and say I'm stupid, say, you know, oh, maybe I made a mistake, but I'll learn from that, right? Or maybe if you're sitting there talking to your, when I talk to my kids, I sit there and I say, oh, wow, I don't like to tell them they're so smart. Right? I like to tell them, wow, they work hard, because that starts to fit in their mind, and their brain starts to position their thoughts, their feelings, their actions into they're a hard worker. If I sit there and I tell them that they smart, and all of a sudden something comes up to them and it's difficult, they're going to feel bad. They're going to start looking inwardly and like, hold up, the title that I had for myself was that I'm smart. And now all of a sudden I don't understand this and I'm having difficulties with this. So now next thing you know, they start feeling that self-confidence, right? They start feeling insurmountable feelings like it's intimidation. And I don't want that. I want them to know that they are hard workers, and you're a hard worker. We all are hard workers. If you've made it to this point in your life, you're a hard worker. You know what I'm saying? So that's exactly how we do it, right? Just like your mind could think something and you sitting there, yo, man, if I'm scared, I'm scared. If I don't feel like I can do it, I don't feel like I can do it. That's what it is. Sure. But just like you can sit there and have feelings of love for somebody and sit there and say the exact opposite to them because of whatever, right? Just like you can sit there and believe you could do something, but then when you're right there, you're like, oh, I can't, right? These are, your mind is thinking one thing and your words are saying another. And that's how it starts, right? That's the way you start controlling your thought process. And that's what I was saying. It's like a push-up, okay? Is that when you first start to speak positivity into your life, that little by little, it's only a push-up. And you might sit there and think to yourself like, yo, this isn't working. I sit there and I say I'm a hard worker, but when it comes down to it, I don't feel like I'm working hard enough. You can sit there and be like, yo, I walk onto the mat and I believe like, yeah, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna persevere, and I'm gonna win this match, or I'm gonna become better. Because I don't like sitting there saying win or losing when it comes to matches or anything. Because we can't sit there and say that we are a winner or a loser based on 6 minutes on the mat. You see what I'm saying? It's all of this time that we put in through training and preparation. And I'm using the analogy of wrestling and on the mat, but it can be for anything. It can be for physical fitness. It can be for your education. It can be for whatever. So when I sit there and I say you need to go and be strong, people sit there and say I'm not strong, and I recognize that. Okay, cool. Well, one begets the other. Right? One leads to the other. The other leads to the one. What do I mean by that? When you go into a gym for the first time and you start looking around at all the weights and the cardiovascular equipment, right? And you sitting there like, man, I can't do this. You see people that they running like crazy. They see people doing squats with like racks on racks on racks on there, right? Same thing with the bench press or big gigantic dumbbells doing curls. Or you end up going and working for somebody and you see left and right people sitting there, they got their resumes stacked way better than yours are. And you're like, man, there ain't no way I'm gonna be able to accomplish this. There ain't no way I'm gonna be able to attain this or that, the other thing, right? Little by little, addition and subtraction, pluses and minuses, brick by brick. You may not have the PhD, but maybe you can start by getting an associate's degree, right? And even if the associate's degree is gigantic, maybe you can start by just signing up and making it through the first quarter. Maybe the first quarter seems insurmountable. Maybe you can just focus on that first test. Maybe the first test looks insurmountable. Maybe you can focus on just that first homework assignment. Maybe the first homework assignment is insurmountable. Maybe you can just focus on reading that chapter. You see what I'm saying? Is you can always break it down into smaller and smaller and smaller steps. But that still takes strength. And you might sit there and be like, just reading a chapter, dog? Come on, how am I going to get to an associate's degree off of reading one chapter? Well, after you read that chapter, you can answer the questions. After you read that chapter and answer the questions, you're probably going to be a whole lot better and ready to take that test. Because everything is building on that strength. So when you had small strength, you need to use that small strength so that small strength can then create larger strength. And now all of a sudden you become strong. You were strong before, but everything is all relative. You were strong before because of everything that you went through in the past that got you to this point. And you're just selling yourself short. You're looking at that other person across the map from you saying, oh, but they 2-time state champion. You can't do that. You need to look at yourself and start saying things about yourself like, I am a hard worker. I can read this chapter. And listen, some people have difficulties reading. I can read this page. I can read this paragraph. I can read this sentence, right? And then you build from there. Strength becomes strong. Strong brings more strength, which brings more strong. Again, it's a process. We need to learn to fall in love with that process. And it all starts in the mind and in the heart because it's our perception. So you may not be strong enough to go in there and lift all them racks of weights that you see somebody doing. You may not be able to go in there and run as fast as or as long as the other person. But you need to start living by them principles. And that's the only thing I want to leave you with today are those principles. Plus and minus, addition and subtraction, little by little, brick by brick. And that's the way you got to move. Those are the principles that we need to live by, right? So today, what is it that you're going to do to add or subtract from where you at? Imagine today is the 0 point, right? Today is the 0. You at 0. And I don't mean you ain't nothing and you worthless, but I'm saying as far as the progression that we are taking towards whatever goal or goals it is that we have, let's count today as 0. What are you going to do today to add to that? Or what are you going to do to subtract from that? And again, just because you subtract from that, it doesn't mean that you're down and out. You're just in the negatives, right? And just because you give yourself a couple positives, it don't mean you can let off the gas, right? Keep it moving. So what am I talking about? If you looking to go to college and you haven't done it, well, start actually investigating and researching what it is that you need to do to be able to enroll in college. What is it that's necessary? If you ain't got the dough, try to find out what financial assistance programs there are out there in order to be able to do so. If you got the financial assistance, or you know how to get it, or you just got the dough to be able to do it, find out what course of study you're trying to get into. What is it that interests you? What is it that you may want to do, right? Then now we're going into that vision, right? But again, if you can't focus on 100% what that vision is, we talking about trajectory. You see how we starting to tie all of these things in together? If you ain't been watching the videos, dog, you got to go back and watch them videos, because everything builds upon everything else. If watching these videos is all you can do at this point, well, then watch these videos, but listen, absorb, and then put into practice, right? Because principles without practice is powerless. Yeah, I'm going to say that again. Principles without practice is powerless. Yo, you need to be following what it is I'm saying. You got to live by the principles and practice those principles, because if not, principles without practice is powerless. And everybody always thinks like, man, maybe it's amazing how I hear this. I hear 14-year-olds saying it's too late. I hear 20-something-year-olds saying it's too late. I hear 30-something and 40-something, even 50 and 60-something-year-olds saying it's too late. If you alive, if you popped up out of bed this morning with your eyes open, I don't even care if your feet touch the ground, because some people got disabilities or whatever. I know I had a hip issue for the longest time because of whatever. My ribs was hurting before that. I could barely breathe in deep, right? But my eyes popped open and I was able to continue on moving forward. When I couldn't train, I was still going and just watching. And somebody might be like, yo, man, that's like, it was the strength that I had at the time, and it was the strength that I used. When I sat there and I had this job that I had, I was looking left and right, and everybody had either law degrees or PhDs and all that. And I was like, whatever. I got the strength that I got. I'm strong at this point. And I was able to do little by little pluses that put me closer and closer and closer. Then I got a bachelor's degree. I only got 8 more classes to be able to get my master's. And better believe it, I'm going to keep on going and getting that PhD. Yep, I said it on here so y'all can call me out and hold me accountable. But I'm not going to be there tomorrow. I'm letting you know that. I don't even know after a master's degree. To me, that's a blind spot. I don't know what it is that I need to do to be able to get a PhD. I mean, I know I need to register, sign up, and do it, but I don't know what, after registering and sign up, what doing it is. And I'm going to have to do some research to find that out, right? But ain't nobody stopping me, because I'm taking it little by little, brick by brick. I'm adding pluses, trying to do as little negatives and minuses as I possibly can, right? And that's what it is I'm talking about. So it's never too late, right? You want to be able to plant the tree today that you want your grandkids climbing on. And for those of y'all who don't got kids or don't plan on having kids or whatever, right? You still want to be able to plant that tree so you can live in the shade of that tree. So they say that the best time to plant the tree to enjoy it today was 20 years ago, right? The second best time to plant that tree is today. So let today be that day 0, right? Today is the day that you're going to become what it is that you want to become. And how is it that you do that? By taking that first step. Don't get discouraged if you got a couple minuses coming on, all right? Don't be discouraged as long as you keep on adding. They say, I take 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Okay, but you still got that 1 step forward. Yes, the end result is, at least the interim end result is that you're behind where you were at in the first place. But all we got to do is just keep working on it, step by step, little by little. Keep adding them pluses, right? And that becomes a habit. Talk to yourself. I am one who can continue to add to my life. I am one who continues to place more pluses in the bank rather than minuses. I make deposits rather than withdrawals, or at least I make more deposits in my life rather than withdrawals. You can do it. Now listen, those are the principles that you need to live by, but principles without practice are powerless. And I believe that everyone who's watching this video is strong. I believe in you and I know you can do it. I'm going to do it. Until next time, my name is Pablo Rivera, and this is another edition of Make It Happen Monday.
I'ma put it to work, and I'ma gauge my progress by the sign of the word. Now I ain't yet a success, but yes, the word that I stress. Cause by the time you hear the CD, count the steps that I've left. I'm passing all of you rappers, it's just a matter of time. Pick your jaw up off the floor when you admire my rhymes. A level head on my shoulders when I'm in motion. I'm focused, thoroughly thought of my plans and the execution. You notice, ain't no time to think about it, only time to react. Your intuition under pressure weighing down on your back. I scribble thoughts in my palm, I'll see you when I get home. Organize my inner visions while I'm chilling and calm. A politician's mind state, that means